What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We'll get the show started in a few minutes here. In the meantime, and in between time, hold tight and I shall return. We'll give you a brief, and I do mean brief, 30 seconds for me to handle some administrative things, but in 30 seconds, good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the GOAT TV, the daily news. And this is the morning news on today, Monday, July 28th. I hope you all had an outstanding weekend, because I did. Healthy, wealthy, happy, positive, upbeat, great outlook for the future, great outlook for today, and just wishing you the best on today. So somebody is in the comments already. Yukita Manuel, thank you. Good morning from Memphis. Yukita is on YouTube, is one of my faithful followers. I appreciate everything that she brings to the table. Always have good perspective on the topics that I post. Good professionalism. I see her growing in the industry, and I can't wait to actually meet her. And Memphis, Tennessee is one of my favorite places. I have some good people in Memphis. Okay, I got a text message coming in too. I will call somebody to just text me, but I do have good people in Memphis, Nashville, Cooksville, a lot of places. But I love Memphis because Memphis has a lot of history. If you don't know about Memphis, a lot of people don't know, that the Lorraine Hotel is where Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated, and that is in Memphis, Tennessee. I didn't know that. I just know Dr. King was assassinated. I didn't know where it happened at and all of that stuff, because I'm 54 years old. They teach you that in grade school about the assassination. I'm not even sure if they teach that anymore. They pretty much don't really teach anything historically wise, and I think they're taking Black history out of school. So I didn't know that. So I went to Memphis, Tennessee for a business trip, corporate executive protection detail, for a cosmetic company. And one of the places that I ended up staying was downtown Memphis. And the people that I was with, somebody that I was with, they said, "Have you gone over to the Black? I think it's the Black History or some kind of museum. It's not Black History, it's Civil Rights, the Civil Rights Museum." And I said, "No, what's that about?" And they said, "Well, that's where Dr. King was assassinated." I said, "Wow." So I went down to Memphis and I saw the Lorraine Hotel, and it still looks like it did when King was assassinated. And well, it's a two-part museum, because on the other side of the street is where Oswald, is that Oswald? There's so many assassinations. Yeah, I think, is that Lee Harvey Oswald? I think who assassinated JFK? I think that was Oswald. I forgot the person who assassinated King, but where it's a house across the street, and that's where he allegedly shot from the window and shot Dr. King. But the face of the building, the Lorraine Hotel, it's Oswald. Okay, Yukita said Oswald. So Lee Harvey Oswald was reportedly a Marine sniper at some point, but he was the person who assassinated Dr. King. And so when you go to the Lorraine Hotel, it still looks like it did when King was assassinated. They even have the room, all of that stuff set up. Good morning, Bungie. They still had a room set up, a newspaper on it, the plates on the table, all of that stuff, the TV, the old box TV with the antenna. They have all of that stuff in there, and you can go through it. But it's, you can't be in the room, but it's kind of, it's like partitioned off. It's glass around it and stuff like that. But it was, so when you go in the Civil Rights Museum, and then it opens up. So they gutted everything else and they built behind the Lorraine Hotel, and you actually, when you come through, I think that the exit part, that's where you see where the balcony where King was assassinated, and then across the street there's the building that Oswald took the shot from. Now, when you're not there, if you never visited the place, then you would think, okay, man, that's an amazing shot with the rifle. But I'm gonna be honest with you, it wasn't that far. I could have taken that shot with a pistol and had the same impact as Oswald did with the firearm, with the long gun. So, but it's an interesting place. Okay. Oswald was JFK. So Yukita said it was James Earl Ray. That's right, James Earl Ray. And he allegedly just cracked the window open a little bit and took that shot. But there's a whole lot of conspiracy theory going on with that too. Some people believe, just like Malcolm X, that Dr. King's people, some of the people in his innermost circle, some of the people who were on that balcony with him that day were also in on the plot to assassinate Dr. King, just like others in the FOI was implicated in assassinating Malcolm X. Unfortunately, we always, we are our worst enemy oftentimes as Black people. And people told me a long time, you're a great speaker, you're a great leader, you can influence people, you need to run for mayor, you need to run for this, you need to do this and that. And I was like, wow, that sounds good. But ultimately, I realized that all the great leaders in the Black community end up being assassinated at some point or time. Even they assassinate your character or assassinate your person. So I lead in a way where I don't get assassinated, but I still empower people. So today I am on here. I thank you guys for joining the Go TV. This is something that I'm going to do every day, a morning, 10 o'clock a.m., morning brief, talking to my subscribers, talking to my followers, talking to my listeners. So the channel is improving. We have a bunch of new content coming out. I have an episode that I'm doing this week. I'm excited about that. And a lot of things I want to tell you guys, but I can't tell you until it actually happens. So this week, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm going down to Fuquay, a place in Fuquay where I'm going to meet with some people and we're going to shoot some footage. And I wish I could do this stuff live, but because of the production schedule that we have, a lot of it has to be produced, edited, sound quality, and all that good stuff. So it won't be live, but you'll be excited about the episode I'm doing this week, and even more excited about next week's, because I'm going to Sulphur Springs in Texas, just about an hour outside of Texas, Dallas, Texas to be exact. And I'm going to show you all how wealthy people live, right? And how they protect themselves. So that's going to be very interesting. And I leave from Dallas, and the following week I go to New York and I shoot an episode there with a powerful attorney who represents, I'm just going to tell you that it's a powerful attorney, and we're going to be talking about not law enforcement, security, executive protection agency, liability, negligence, excessive force, all that good stuff. So that's going to be a good topic. I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. And I'm going to leave there and I'm going to Toronto. Toronto is going to be a killer episode. I'm really excited about both Sulphur Springs, Texas, and Toronto. So as I produce these episodes and this content as never done before by any security professional, I have like my executive protection school, the MVP School of Executive Protection, I have the fastest growing and the hottest security podcast, YouTube channel on the internet. And I plan to continue to bring you guys quality content, not only that you can just binge on and consume the different scenarios that I bring and I show you of incidents involving corporate security, political security, government security, celebrity security. Not only do I want to show you that, I also want to show you what happens behind the scenes. Because oftentimes when people see bodyguards, they see executive protection agents, they believe that that is all to what we do, pushing through crowds, telling people no autographs, telling people no pictures, doing all that good stuff. What's up, Marcos? Marcos down in Louisiana, New Orleans, one of my pupils. Great man, great businessman in his own right. Has a outstanding business in New Orleans. And every time I go down there, he's not only the first person that I call, he's the only person that I call. So what part of my purpose on these platforms is not only to put out information, but also connect people with people, good people, because you want to do business with people you trust. And a lot of people get into this business trying to be friends instead of trying to do business. And I got to just be honest with you, family members and friends have messed me over more over in business than anybody. So I don't, when people come in calling me broad, dog, all that cuzzo, all of that good stuff, I stay far away from those kind of people because I've been violated by those kind of people in the worst way. So what happens is you develop brotherhood, you develop friendships, you develop that while you're doing business. So Marcos has always been a consummate professional. I see another guy on here, Bungie Adams, consummate professional. Yukita Manuel, consummate professional. We haven't met in person, but she's down in Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm going to hook her up with Ty and Donovan down in Nashville. And also, here's another one of my great guys that I love, and I want to thank him for the super chat. Idris Ruley out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. A law enforcement officer, an executive protection agent. I love you too, Idris, executive protection agent, one of my pupils, one of the baddest men that I know in any form of martial arts, a complete gentleman, father, entrepreneur, so many things that I can say about Idris. And we were supposed to spend time this weekend, but I was supposed to be in DC this week on a security detail that got canceled. And I was also supposed to be between in DC and New York. So in my business, I go in between DC and New York on a constant basis. We have plenty of work, executive transportation, executive security. And Idris has not only helped me to be an integral part of my security business, protecting high profile people. He's also been a leader in my absence and keeping things run afloat. And he's also, we always say there's no gatekeeper. Well, there are gatekeepers in this business, but in our circle, we don't have any gatekeepers, so to speak, to keep you out of the business. Our gatekeepers are to keep bad people out of the business. And Idris is one of those people who I charge with that. He's one of my one of my generals that in order to get to me, you got to go through him. And after every security detail, after every class, we have a powwow. We sit down and we say, what do you think about this person? We think about that person, and then we determine if we're going to keep on moving on with them or turn the page to another chapter and give another person an opportunity. So again, Idris said he loves me and I love him more than he can even imagine. So we'll get together. I know that my schedule for the next couple of weeks will be busy. I will be in Texas next week, but I do have to come to New York and for a podcast episode with one of my attorney friends. So hopefully we can meet that week. If not, I'm just going to make a sacrifice and I'm going to come up there and just spend some time with you. Be glad to see my little niece and see how she's doing. So like I said, every morning I'm going to be on here at 10 o'clock in the morning to talk about whatever the daily news is, everything involving security, law enforcement, executive protection. If it pops up on the news feed, I'm going to talk about it. Today, I have a few stories that I'm going to talk about. So I won't be on long, maybe another 10 to 15 minutes or so. But I am going to talk about these stories. And I'm also going to talk about the pressing issue of today and tomorrow and yesterday that won't go away. Our current president, Donald Trump, in the news, under pressure. And his strategy is to deny everything, admit nothing, and deflect or have accusations about other people. So deny everything, admit nothing, and offer counterclaims. And in this case, he offered plenty of counterclaims, including charging or threatening to charge our prior president, Barack Obama, with treason, as you know, which is one of the highest charges or the highest charge in the country. And the penalty for treason is death. So we'll talk about that because that's really weird. And I don't know about you guys, but to me, this smells of cover-up. It smells of cover-up. It is cover-up. J.K. Owens, thank you, my brother, for joining the show. But it smells. I'm just getting over a cold, guys. So summertime COVID or whatever. I should have taken a test, but it's processed out. I'm just at the end of it, so my voice is a little bit raspy, and I may cough a little bit. But it smells of cover-up, and you would never imagine the world that we're living in, that a presidential candidate, I'm not a candidate, a president, a sitting president, would be involved in such drama, such criminal activity. And then not only that, to blur the lines of government. What's going on, Kalante? I owe you a phone call as well. To blur the lines of government, to bend at his own power and his own will, to hide his indiscretions. But not only his own indiscretions, but the indiscretions of bunches, dozens. In fact, let's even scrap dozens, hundreds of high-powered, high net worth oligarchs who run this world, who are impervious to criminal charges, who can do whatever they want and accuse whoever they want or whatever they want. If it was you and I, Kalante, Idris, Owens, Big B, what's going on, Big B? Marcos, Yukita, if we were involved in any of this, we'd be underneath the jail. They would have said all kind of crazy things about us and to us. We can't get away with stealing a candy bar. But these people can cheat on their taxes, cheat on their spouses, victimize little kids, brag about it, steal money, hide money in offshore accounts, and get away with it with impunity. And not only do they have the legal means to cover it up, they have the government to cover it up too. But I'll tell you one person who's not going for it, or two people. Elon Musk. Elon Musk was the first to come out. He said Donald Trump is on the Epstein list. And we wondered, how did we get back here? I'm going to take a drink. And while I'm taking a drink, you see I have my Muhammad Ali shirt on. He's the greatest of all times. Muhammad Ali said, I'm going to show you how great I am. And they called him a GOAT. But there's another GOAT. And that's why my name of my show is the GOAT TV. They call me the GOAT of security. I appreciate it. Honestly, I didn't take that name on myself, but a lot of people started calling me that. And then when they did, a lot of people who work in the security profession became jealous, especially if they have schools or companies like similar to mine. For whatever reason, they became jealous and started talking down about me simply because I don't work with rappers and, in the entertainment industry as much. I don't do that. My level of clientele is totally different. top 30 companies in the Fortune 500 list. The people on Capitol Hill, unfortunately, as we go through what we're going through with Donald Trump. But I work with those people. So people got jealous. So I just took the GOAT and ran with it. I took the GOAT and ran with it as a means to antagonize the people who hate me. So here's to the GOAT, Muhammad Ali, and here's to another GOAT, the GOAT Fuel. It's an all-natural energy drink created by Hall of Fame San Francisco 49ers wide receiver Jerry Rice. It has all-natural ingredients, 0 sugar, 200 milligrams of natural caffeine, cordyceps mushrooms for focus, clarity. And the best part about it, you drink this, you can go all day. And at the end of the day, unlike Red Bull, Monster Energy, and some of the energy drinks, because it has no sugar, it has 0 crash. And so I have to be cautious when I drink this stuff, because once I drink it, I'm up all day long. I want to go to sleep and I can't go to sleep. So I discovered this on a long security detail going between DC and New York. I need to drink some of this. I wanted to share this one with you all because I actually have the Muhammad Ali shirt on. So this one is the watermelon fruit punch, which is really good. But I think right now my favorite is this one right here. This one is pineapple cream soda. It's delicious. Oh my God. So I'm gonna drink that right now. My voice is cracking. I want to fix that, and I want to get a little bit of boost to start my day and get my day off and running. So here's to you. Here's the GOAT Fuel. Thank you, Yakita. Yakita said, I am the GOAT of executive protection. I try to be, even more so than the GOAT, I try to be an example for people who are in the industry, because a lot of people don't know where to go for resources and information, who to talk to, because there are gatekeepers. There are people who won't let you in, and when you do get in, they'll keep you at a minimal level. For me, we are the gateway. We're the bridge for people who are professional and serious, who want to get into this profession. We are the people who can teach you how to do it and coach you and mentor you on your way. And if you have the right character, really the right character, I always say this, I'd rather have a person with 0 skill and great character, because I can teach skill. You can't teach character. And I watch people when they come through our classes, I always say, they don't know, you don't know, but it's an interview process for us. Because again, just like on these details, we're talking amongst each other, our core group. KP said, yes, sir. We're talking amongst each other. Who can we elevate? Who can we help get to achieve their goals, to get to the next level, to work with the type of clients that they want to work with? Kalante, I wish I could bring you know what? I can. If anybody wants to come on screen, because I'm doing this from StreamYard now, I can actually bring you on screen. So what I'm going to do, if you want to come on, I'll bring you on. And I just click that link right there and request to come on, and I'll let you on. Also got another one of my favorites, Lateef Watson. Lateef Watson. Lateef Watson has worked with me for the last, it was pre-COVID. It was pre-COVID. I started Lateef, he'll tell you. I started Lateef off as a security guard. Lateef didn't have my phone number. He talked to the vice president of my company. I kept him at bay. As I kept him at bay, I watched him work. When he went through executive protection school, he didn't go through our school because we didn't have any available classes at the time. And he really wanted it. So he went and found his own school, and then he went to another school and another school. And he went to our executive chauffeur school and another executive chauffeur school. His resume is long as the Dead Sea Scrolls, and he has shown himself as a consummate professional. Lateef said he waited. 2017 is when he came in, and we made him wait 4 years before he came on. Yep, 4 years. You know why? Because everybody, this is a microwave generation. Everybody wants something now that they didn't earn. Everybody wants to get cooked. Everybody wants to climb to the top of the mountain. Everybody wants to be at the top of the mountain. Nobody wants to climb. Everybody wants to eat. Nobody wants to cook. But in this profession, as in any profession or anything you do, it's like a bank. You're only going to get out what you put in. So hats off to Latif, hats off to Kalante, hats off to Idris, the people who came through Big B down in Jackson, Mississippi, guys who came through, put the work in. Idris, these are real people. These are the people that are going to take over the industry in the next 10 years. They'll be me. You'll be watching them talking to you just like this. Because I am retiring. Oh, my voice is cracking so bad. Oh, my God. Drink some more Gold Fuel. I am retiring in 18 to 24 months doing executive protection. I've been doing this for 30 years. Presidential candidates, senators, congressmen, people who built electric car companies. I got a fruit fly in here. Movie stars, some of the people who are on tour right now, A-list celebrities. Something just popped up on my screen. A-list celebrities. That's what I do. But I started in the dirt and grind. I started before I started working with Secret Service and State Department on the police department doing details. I started working in nightclubs like many of you all, bouncing as a police officer, working off duty in nightclubs. When the local celebrities came in, I would protect them. When the radio shows, the radio stations would have concerts and stuff in town, and then after parties at the clubs, I was there. I picked up a lot of celebrity clients. I worked with many other people that you see on TV still today and in the past. I work with them now. That's just not my line of work. I'm old. I have gray hair. I got grandchildren, and I'm not built to, work all night long. Like I said in the Diddy thing, when people were talking about, because I was there at the Diddy trial. As I was there at the Diddy trial, we were just listening to the testimony saying he was on ketamine, cocaine, pink cocaine, Adderall. What else did they say he was on? Weed, all of these things, all of these upper speeds and all of that good stuff that keep you going. Methamphetamine, he's up 4 days, four days straight, and all you got is Goat Fuel, some kind of energy drink or something like that, and some coffee, and you're trying to stay up all day for 3 days while this man is on a immorality binge, sex binge, drug binge, and he's going all day long, and all you have is coffee and energy drink. Man, you can't last long like that. I just talked about a security detail that they wanted us for 16 hours. 63 days for 16 to 18 hours a day, every day, no day off, 4 people. How do you manage something like that? And this was a corporate security detail, but how do you manage something like that? It's impossible to do that. And so for me, I'm thinking, we talked about this on the previous, I think it's on the YouTube channel, but I talked about it on the previous episode of one of the shows that I did with my ex-vice president Gunner. We talked about that. How do you manage that? Because you have to, at some point, your people have to rest. Your people have to take a nap. Your people have to eat. They need days off. Now, if it was 8 hours a day, maybe even 10 hours a day for 60 days, we probably could pull that off. So I was thinking, okay, how do you get those people relief? How do you compensate them? And sometimes it's crazy the things people ask you for at the price point that they ask you for it at. They expect you to do it. And then when you give them your price, which is actually a discount, the price that I gave these people was a discount. And instead of having respect for the game and respect for me, they just ghosted me and didn't even return a call because they thought the price was too much. And I'll tell you how much I quoted them. I quoted them, I think it was $1,200 for a 16-hour day. I mean, for some people, they're like, wow, that's great. That's great. But listen, you have to understand the perspective of this. I still need to pay my people who have worked 16 hours a day, and the company still needs to make a profit. So how do I compensate? How much do you pay somebody for working 16 hours a day? I mean, if I gave them 800, they would probably be happy, and I could still walk away with 400 per person. But $800 a day for a 16-hour day, I say $800 a day. And I mean, it was going to be a good paycheck, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people would have jumped on it. But the sustainability is the problem. So $800 a day for $63 for 63 days was $50,000. That's life changing for some people. But for me, it's not life changing. And actually, if I paid the people $800, that means that the company would profit $400, or you would think. But that's not really how it works either, because you still have company expenses that you have to pay for. And this particular client, the reason they were cool with the $1,200, then they asked me, did it include travel and hotel? So then if you're traveling 63 days with somebody and they're not paying for the hotel and you don't know where you're going, you haven't pre-booked the hotels, that means that the hotels, you never know. You might get there and the hotels are $500 a day. I've been in plenty of cities where the hotels are $500 a day. So now you're in a negative. Also for the plane tickets and the meals and all of that stuff. So if people aren't valuing you for what you're worth, as they say, all money isn't good money. So it's great to walk away with your head held high and without any money at all, because there's somebody who respects what you bring to the table and will pay you even more than you think you're worth. So that's that. I want to give a special shout out to Noel Bernard. He says, salute, thank you for coming on to the channel. And Yukita says, I used to work them 24-hour shifts chasing money. I know now, I know better now. I got a team together to run a 24-hour detail. Yes, Yukita, that's the other part of it, the detail. So if these guys are working 18 hours or a day, 16, 18 hours a day, they need some kind of relief because they can't stay on their feet all day. They can't work technically 18 hours a day for 63 days straight. So also out of my $400 that I would have been keeping, quote unquote, I still had to fly other people in as relief people. So I would have to give my core team days off. And these relief people would have to come in during the week. I had to pay for their hotel, travel, and pay them. So when you're looking at these deals, everything that shines ain't gold. And you don't need to chase everything that presents itself. As Kenny Rogers said, the old country singer, need to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know where to run. William Farr, one of my former colleagues with the Metropolitan Police Department, said, take care of your people and they will take care of you. Absolutely, Bill. For me, I've always been a leader, not a boss. I say the stars, stripes, and bars mean nothing if you don't have the people. Leadership is not a position. It is something that you have to embody, embrace. I see a lot of people wielding power because they can, telling people, talking to people any kind of way. That's not how it works. You have to be, as a leader, you have to be a chameleon, and you have to know how to motivate people as a whole and individually. You have to build relationships with them. When I was an officer in the police department, you could have a supervisor come in and curse you out. Now, if you do that now, they're going to the next rank, then they're going to the EEO, and then they're going to file a lawsuit on you. You may end up getting demoted for saying what needs to be said. So we have a soft society. But when I was an officer, if you saw a sergeant, that was good. That's who you saw. You saw a lieutenant, man, you probably were in trouble. If you saw a captain or a district commander, you might as well turn your stuff in because you didn't have a job because you never saw them. Sergeants ran everything. And I had plenty of times when I did things on the street, maybe unorthodox, that I would have a sergeant come in, call me into the office, and I'd be terrified that the sergeant called me into the office and he would rip me a new one and call me every stupid MF and everything in the book. And I put my head down and took it because I understood that the sergeant actually cared about me. Because if he didn't care about me, he would have put documentation on me and wrote me up and gave me some discipline. But that was their way of showing their love and leadership, that they knew how to be situational leader and how to get the best out of you. And all the times it wasn't sunshine and rainbows. So, just learning how to be a leader. Good morning, Jerry Rubinos. I want to say good morning to Jerry Rubinos of Aries Defense. He's also Kalante Payne's, the CEO of the company that Kalante Payne works for. So, great leader. He's really moving up in the security industry and moving up in an in the executive protection industry, doing great things. He's also my current vice president of SIX, the Society for International Executive Protection. We are an association that is growing in numbers and growing in status. And what we're aiming to do is to create opportunities, learning opportunities for people who are in the industry, whether you are a novice, a person who are just getting into the industry, whether you're a seasoned person or you're a company, to create learning opportunities, webinars, seminars, training programs, resources. So when you need things, if it's vehicles, TSCM, which is electronic surveillance, if you need all of that kind of stuff, you need connections with people who have it, that you have it. And then also, we want to create opportunities for people, opportunities for you to grow in the industry, connect with the movers and shakers and the people who are doing things. So if you don't know about SIX, it's a growing association. And I'm putting it here, www.weare6.org. Check us out, consider joining. And not only joining, SIX could be a more powerful organization that can help out more people if we had more manpower. It's a handful of us, and the things and vision that we have for the executive protection industry can only grow so far if we don't have people behind the oars rowing the boat. So we need the manpower. We need you guys to come up with concepts that we can take back to the general population in the security world to help grow, to help create those opportunities. We talked about later this year having a networking kind of conference in Tennessee. Gatlinburg, Tennessee is one of my favorite places to go. It'll be a place for us to unwind, to talk, to socialize, to talk industry strategy, to connect with each other, the resources that you need to be successful in your company, share ideas, share stories, and really get the industry going. Because again, a lot of these organizations that are currently running, when you go to their leadership and membership, you'll see that it's not reflective of the whole population. And those organizations normally just help each other out and the good old boy network, whatever that looks like, and everybody else is boxed out. But that's not what we're about. As you see this platform that I'm on, I created this because I realized that there isn't information out there that people are willing to share. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh wow. Ooh, okay. Wow. Something just came up on my phone that I got to address, but we're going to handle it and the best way we can. But nonetheless, we are, um, uh, so the resources is what I was saying. Somebody just messed up my schedule. I was supposed to be on a flight, and now they actually changed the dates on us after we already booked the flights. So man, I don't know how I'm gonna manage that. But anyway, nonetheless, what I what I'm saying is that that's what Six is about. That's what this platform is about. That you can go to these videos that I post. You can see people who have been principals who have been attacked by people while they were surrounded with 10, 15, 20 agents, bodyguards, people who were supposed to be highly trained. And you find out a lot of these guys have never been trained. They're just police officers. Governor DeSantis detail when he was running for president last year, when he people came up and encroached the stage, how his detail handled it. And one of the incidents, a guy was just holding up a sign, and the agent ran from, I won't call him a bodyguard, but he's a state police officer. He ran, tackled the guy, slammed him down, they handcuffed him, all of this whole crazy stuff. But why? All the guy did was had a sign. You can't beat up people for no reason just because they were unruly or disorderly. You can't beat people up for that. You can't even put your hands on them. Best you can do is ask them to leave. That's the best you can do. But the one that I just posted of Azel Agur, the Turkey opposition leader, CHP opposition leader, walking through a crowd of people with 10 bodyguards surrounding him. And a man walks right through the formation and slaps him in the face. Now, that man, what people didn't know, that man had recently was released from prison for a 2004 homicide, double homicide. And get this, the man was dangerous, very, very dangerous. And if his intent was to unalive Mr. Ogzer would have been unalive, because this man had no regard for life. He killed 2 of his own children. So let that sink in. So today, in today's news, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. I got to put my eyes on because these eyes are getting older. So I'm going to talk about the stabbing in Grand Traverse, Michigan. I don't even know if you guys have heard about this, but wow, it was a doozy. Well, yesterday in Grand Traverse, Michigan, 11 people were stabbed inside of a Walmart. You heard me? 11 people were stabbed at a Walmart. The incident happened right at the checkout counters. And there's a 42-year-old male suspect in custody named Bradford James Gilly, or Gal. It's spelled Gille, however you pronounce that. But Mr. Gal had, for whatever reason, went on his terrorist rampage and started stabbing people. They said the age group ranged from about, I believe, 25 to 84. The people that he targeted, a lot of them were in wheelchairs, older people who couldn't move and couldn't get out of the way fast. The FBI and the Michigan State Police are investigating the incident, but again, they did get Mr. Bradford James Gilly, or Gal, and they taken him into custody without incident. But the highlight of this whole thing is, which I'm going to advocate and I'm going to talk about more, is that the person that apprehended Mr. Gilly, or Gal, or however you say his name, was a private citizen, an African-American male with dreadlocks, who had a concealed carry permit. And as Mr. Gilly attempted to flee, the citizen, the private citizen, drew his firearm and held him at gunpoint until the police got there. They said that there was a lot of screams, there was blood everywhere, and that everyone was in a state of panic at the Walmart. So which brings me to the fact is that 2A, the Second Amendment, allows you to carry a firearm. A lot of the laws are relaxed, and they're still pushing for a national concealed carry license. If you get a Utah license, it gives you 38 states. People say combine that with Virginia, Arizona, and Florida, and you just about cover all 58 states. The District of Columbia have non-resident permits, and a lot of those places have reciprocity. So if you are not carrying, I recommend that you carry. I live in North Carolina where everything is hunky-dory, but I'm pretty sure they believe the same thing in Detroit, Michigan, not Detroit, Michigan, Grand Traverse, Michigan. I believe they thought it was safe there as well. So after I retired, after carrying a gun for nearly 20 years every day, I rarely carry a gun now, not even in my private time. But I believe that society is getting to a place where you're going to need to carry a firearm, that you're going to need a concealed carry permit. A lot of places like Virginia, you can have open carry without a permit. I believe down here in North Carolina, you can have open carry without a permit as well. For me, if I'm going to carry, I prefer it be concealed. One, because when people see you with the firearm, you become a target. And there are plenty of videos surfacing around the internet that shows you people standing in line at convenience stores and different places, and people walk up behind them and snatch their firearm. Is Big B is Mississippi, is that open carry, or is it just 2A concealed? How does that work? And also because of 2A, a lot of people are opposing the training requirement and the licensing requirement. One, you got to pay for everything in here. Is to keep the state running. Even though you pay taxes, you got to pay a driver's permit, a wedding license, a concealed carry license. You need all of this stuff. You got to pay for all this stuff just to exercise your constitutional rights. Okay, Big B said anything goes in Jackson, Mississippi, where he is. But I believe that private citizens should have the right to protect themselves by any means necessary in the terms of Malcolm X. Oh, but this is the suspect on the left, the young man with the firearm. I don't know who taught him to hold his firearm like that, because if you pull that trigger, that slide is going to rack back and catch all of his skin and meat flesh in his hand. And that gun probably will fire one time and jam. He definitely hit his target because he has him point blank. But, I don't know where they taught him how to do that. So that's why I believe in concealed carry. I believe in open carry if that's the way you want to do it. But again, you become a target when people see the firearm. I believe that the citizens of America should be able to protect themselves. But I also believe if there's no licensing fee, that there should be some training that goes behind you with these firearms, having these firearms. One, for safety of yourself, safety of others, and for your household. A lot of people, well, even when I was growing up, or not when I was growing up, I was raising my kids. My ex-wife was a law enforcement officer, as was I. And we wouldn't buy the kids toy guns or nothing like that because we didn't want them to play with the guns. But during my career, I've seen a lot of police officers, law enforcement officers, whose children were unalived themselves because their parents took that kind of attitude, hide the guns and stuff like that. So for me, at a very young age, because I was involved in multiple shootings, I knew the consequences of not teaching your children about firearm safety. Most children who are killed in firearm gun incidents are not killed in their own home. They're killed at a cousin's home or a best friend's home while they're staying over, sleep overnight. And the reason why is that the kids find a gun when the parents aren't home or around, and they start playing with the gun. And nobody knows gun safety, not even your kid, because you hid your guns from them and you didn't let them allow them to play guns or to shoot guns. But if you teach a kid from a young age, this is a gun, this is what it does, this is how you use it. Anytime you pick up a gun, you shouldn't be picking it up, but if you do, make sure that it's unloaded. Never point it at anything or anyone you don't want to kill or destroy. Always keep it pointed in a safe direction. Keep your finger off the trigger until it's time to shoot. You teach a kid that. Teach them how to unload it. Teach them how to load it. Teach them how to put the ammo in the magazine. Teach them how to take the ammo out of the magazine. Teach them how to lock the slide to the rear. Take them to the gun range. I used to take my kids to the gun range and we shoot watermelons. Watermelons explode, cantaloupes explode. So they can see that this is not a toy. And whatever's on the other end of that, or the other end of that firearm, what you've seen happen to that watermelon is what's going to happen to that person or that thing. So I encourage you, don't hide your firearms from your kids. Teach them how to use them. Teach them gun safety. Take them to the gun range. This is a suspect in the Walmart stabbing. Bradford James Gilly was his name. Well, I also want to take a quick moment of silence, so to speak. Not written necessarily silence, and I lost my notes. Oh man, I'm losing my voice. But there was a young man who lost his life. Here it is. His name was Anthony Igonu in Dallas, Texas, on January 28th, 2025. All he was doing, this is Mr. Igonu with his family, his wife, 2 of his 3 kids, 16-year-old, and I think he had 2 more younger kids, 7 and 4, something like that. Dedicated father, dedicated professional, security guard working the night shift. And he was killed in the line of duty by 2 13-year-olds that were shoplifting. Sad state of affairs, but we want to remember 39-year-old Anthony Igonu, father of 3 kids, murdered in downtown Dallas, Texas at a CVS, as all he was doing was his job. Sad state of affairs, but this is the penalty. This is what when we walk out of that door every day. This is the possibility. And so for people who don't take their job seriously, and I'm not by any means saying that this man did not take his job seriously, but when you don't take your job seriously, could be the end result. From my understanding, he was a consummate professional, and he was on the path to being promoted to supervisor, where he didn't have to work at these stores anymore. We worked for a third-party security firm. And one of the things that I always tell people is that Mr. Igonu was they said that he saw the people shoplifting 3 kids, 2 of them ended up being 13, one of them being armed, and he saw the kids and said, I saw you shoplifting. He didn't try to approach them. They said as soon as he turned, they started firing and shot him in the back and a couple of other places. I'm not sure exactly, but he succumbed to his injuries. And as I spoke about this the other day, the last place you want your security guard standing is at a door. Because when people commit crimes, they just don't walk in and say, this looks like a nice place to rob. They do their homework. They see if there's security. If there is security, what's the security's posture? Are they alert? Are they texting on their phone? Are they standing right at the doorway so that they're the first victim when the robbers walk in? Or are they aware of their surroundings? And this is what happens oftentimes when you stand at the door, that not only it doesn't decrease your reaction time, it eliminates your reaction time. Because as that person who came to rob the store, they already walked past, already saw who you are, what you was doing, your posture, your size, your equipment, your readiness to respond. And when they come in the door, they're hitting you first, armed or unarmed. And I have an example on my YouTube channel where I show that in real time, armed or unarmed. When a person is prepared, I prepared the guard. I said, gave him a duty belt, gave him a firearm, strapped a GoPro on him, strapped a GoPro on me. I walked in. I said, hey, can you tell me where the Jordans are? He said, they over there. This is in a training facility there when I used to train armed security guards, special police officers, and armed security guards for the state of Maryland. And they walk in, and he showed me, and I said, okay, thank you. I walked out, turned around, went in, and back out, put a Jason mask on, came right back in. He knew that I was going to rob the store. I told him I was going to rob the store. He just didn't know when or how. Well, where I had him was standing right at the door. You know why? Because I knew that he wouldn't have any time to react. And you go watch that video. When he saw me come in, you saw sheer terror on his face. You saw him reach for his gun, but he couldn't get it out because mine was already out, because action is faster than reaction. And you need time to perceive the threat. Then you have time to react. So you got perception time and then reaction time. That equals real time. And in the end, I had him lay on the floor. I put the airsoft gun to his head and told him to give me his gun. There are a lot of security officers and police officers that lose their lives that way. When I was a young officer on the Metropolitan Police Department, I ended up catching 3 suspects who did exactly that. They walked into an apartment complex where the security guard was sitting at a desk right at the front door. When the 3 men came in, they were armed. He didn't have time to react. They pulled the firearm out on him, took his gun, executed him with his own gun, and then left. They gave the description. This was in the southwest side of town. They gave the description. They came to the southeast side of town where my patrol was. It was the end of the shift. And just as I was going in at the end of the shift, I came across the path of that car. And I was able to apprehend 3 of those guys. We had the helicopter up and all that good stuff. But I didn't even realize how in jeopardy my own life was as a young officer. I just knew that I had the suspects who had just killed the security guard. But I could have faced that same fate as that guard. So in security, you have to be prepared. You have to train. In law enforcement, you're only required to go to the range 2 times a year to requalify. When your life depends on it, you don't need a supervisor, a police department, a manager, or anybody to tell you that you need to go to the range more than 2 times a year. You need to be taking, needs to be something that you need to be doing every other weekend if you can. If you could do it every weekend, I would do it. But every other weekend if you could. That's what I would recommend. So again, our condolences go to the Eaglenew family. Your dad will never be replaced. Your dad was a great man. He will never be replaced, and he'll always be remembered. Now, I want to talk about what happened in Minnesota with Vance Boelter and the assassination of the Minnesota lawmakers. Now, what a lawmaker is the Congress, senators, and congressmen and women. So in Minnesota, there is a man who's currently in prison with the hearing date of August 7th, which was supposed to be in September, and the trial is supposed to be in November. By the way, I'll be at that trial as an investigative journalist to cover that trial. And I felt, just as in the Diddy trial, it's important to be at that trial so that I can bring back the information that is important to the executive protection community. People like you guys who are on here watching this show this morning. Lawmakers. Now, congressmen, senators, they don't have a budget for security. If they're going to have security, they have to pay for it out of their own pockets. Unlike governors and mayors. So it's a really fine line what they can pay for out of donations and things like that. So they have to do special donations and they have to contribute it exactly for security. So they can't take money from one thing and allot it to another when they're doing campaigns and negotiations and getting money. So they're really on their own. I had one congresswoman who I worked for who had over 3,500 death threats in one day. 3,500 death threats in one day. Love her to death. I do. I would do anything for her. Honestly, I would do it for free. But at the end of the day, it came down to how much money it costs. And I got to be honest with you, I cost a lot. I'm not the regular G.I. Joe. I cost a lot. If you want me, you're getting one of the best people out at what they do in this industry in the world. And so my price is going to reflect that. And one thing that I can guarantee you, that at the end of the day, if anybody hires me, and a lot of these people who are on this live watching right now, who came under my training, if you hire us, at the end of the day, I almost 100% guarantee that you go home at the end of each night when you're finished your business, or you'll go to your hotel room and wake up, and then at the end of the detail, when you get on a plane, you'll go home to your family and they'll get to see your smiling face walking through the door. And the reason why I say that is because I'm going to walk through the door at the end of the night for my family to see me. And so my clients getting home, the principals that I protect getting home, is just icing on the cake. It's just a benefit of me going home at the end of the night. If you're in this kind of job, you have to take this serious. You really have to take this serious. And even the people who have been doing it, I got a lot of people like, oh, well, I need training. I've been in this thing for 18 years and I did this and that and this and that. Yeah, well, you've been lucky for 18 years. And what kind of professional says, oh, I'm just a natural at this and I don't need any kind of training? Just think about how ignorant and arrogant that is. And how irresponsible that is, not only to your principals, but to your teammates and to your family, that you feel that you're so good at something that you don't need training. Steph Curry will go down as the greatest three-point shooter of all time. And even Steph Curry has a trainer. Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, best in the game all times. Even they got a trainer in the corner. Even they're in the ring by themselves, but they got a trainer in their corner. Every time they go back to the corner, the trainer is giving them tips. When they're not boxing, they're training in the gym with trainers, sparring with different people. In executive protection, you don't have people to spar with. You don't have an enemy, a terrorist, a stalker that doesn't like your client or doesn't like you, that's going to say, okay, let's get together on Thursday. We're going to spar. We're going to train together. So how do you train? How do you prepare yourself mentally, physically, spiritually to go on these details to protect people if you never go to the gym? And I'm not talking about the physical gym. I'm talking about the gym of your profession, that you never get in with the trainer to teach you the game or the ropes. You're just good like you are. Most people who do this job are big. They 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", and they believe that makes them a good bodyguard. A lot of people believe because they carry a firearm that makes them a good bodyguard. Let me just explain to you, 98% of the security details in the United States are unarmed. Somebody told me the other day that they feel uncomfortable without a firearm. And I just simply say that you haven't trained the right way. Because what we do is probably 1% physical, 99% mental, 99% strategy, 99% planning. The 1% is, I would say 0.5% is execution, and the other 0.5% is responsive, where you're going to have to put your hands on somebody. But if you do the 99%, right, it reduces the threats, it reduces the risk that you will have to be responsible for when you hit boots on the ground. So training is important. If you want to be great at anything, you have to do the training. You should be embarrassed to tell somebody done something for 20 years and never took a class. You really should be embarrassed. Why not polish your skills if you want to be great? Because there's somebody who's your adversary who's at the gun range. When we look at Luigi Mangione, and I'm going to talk about him at depth because I'm going to be at that trial too in New York when it goes to trial. Luigi Mangione is a 26-year-old man, I think he's 27 now, who unalived United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. He had disappeared from his family. He had a manifesto. He was posting different comments online. He had a back injury, and he blamed United Healthcare or the insurance industry for his problems. He specifically said that I feel justified in what I'm doing. And this is the person, when he said United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, this is the person who will pretty much feel my wrath. Now you say, well, how did he even know where CEO Brian Thompson was? How did he find him? How did he know he would be there? How did he know he would be there at that time? Well, unlike many of you guys who are doing executive protection or bodyguard work or whatever you want to call it, Luigi Mangione did his homework. He trained, he studied, and then he got to work. He planned. He got to New York. He didn't just show up there on accident. Brian Thompson's office wasn't even in New York. What he did was go on to United Healthcare website, saw that they would have a conference, saw where the conference was, knew what time it was starting, knew what time it would be ending, and he knew that Brian Thompson would be speaking at that conference. And with all of that information, he went to New York with the plan, printed a 3D gun, printed a 3D silencer, was there an hour before Brian Thompson got there. And when Brian Thompson showed up, he stepped out of the shadows and began offloading bullets into the back of Brian Thompson's body. And they said Brian Thompson had bodyguards, but he chose not to take these bodyguards with him. He chose not to have them. And he really didn't have bodyguards. He didn't have executive protection aides. They have a security team. When a lot of you guys think about like some of these large corporations, trust me, they don't have these large security details that you have, that you believe that they have. Many of them don't want security at all. They want to seem like regular people. They like to have a private life, so they prefer not to have security with them at all. And the corporations normally have 2 to 3 people managing all of the security. one out of those 2 or 3 people, one person handles the facility security guards and stuff like that. One person handles the executive transportation. And then again, the other person handles the security guard force that they had there. So there's no real executive protection team. And when they go out, a lot of them just hire regular black car services. So if just for example, if they were, let's just say, assaulted outside of a hotel, but they lived, they get into a car, and they say, take me to the hospital. These drivers wouldn't know where to start or where to end. And that's a very sad thing. When you're working in executive protection, I don't want to work with anybody who's just a driver. If they say, hey, we just need a couple of agents or a bodyguard and we have our own driver, I say, no, thank you. No, thank you, because I want somebody who knows the geographical area. I want people to know where the police stations are. I want them to know where the fire stations are. I want them to know where the hospitals are, and not just any hospital. I need you to know where a level 1 hospital is, the trauma care. So if someone gets shot, someone gets stabbed, someone gets critically injured, that we can find, we can beeline our way there without having to put it into GPS or try to figure out where the location is or wait on the X while our principal or our teammates are bleeding out. So again, training is going to be of the utmost importance. And after the Brian Thompson shooting, a lot of people wanted that. They wanted, hey, we just want an armed driver. And if you watch that video, you see the tape of Brian Thompson being executed real time on TV. You will see. Let's see if I can find a picture of that, because I had a picture of that. You will see that there were SUVs lined up on the street already. This is Brian Thompson in the bottom right-hand corner. This is Luigi Mangione on the bottom left-hand corner. And then that is at the top of the screen. I don't know if you guys can see my arrow, the man in the suit, that's Brian Thompson. As he walked from wherever he was walking from, I don't know if he got out of one of those SUVs or not. But Luigi Mangione was there and laying in wait for him. And they said he was there an hour before Brian Thompson even showed up. And in our line of work, I always say, on time is late. On time is late. If you're showing up, if your reporting time is 6 a.m. and you show up at 6 a.m., you're late. Because our adversaries, they're doing their homework and they're showing up an hour early and they're plotting and laying in wait for you. So if Brian Thompson got out, I said, we're talking about the armed guards, armed drivers, so to speak. If Brian Thompson got out of one of those cars and this man came from behind the car, please explain to me how an armed driver helps Brian Thompson or any CEO or principal for that matter. How does he help him? Because the damage is already done. When this man runs off down the street, you can't run and chase him and exchange gunfire with him, not unless he's shooting at you. You can't initiate gunfire for an act that was already done unless you're a law enforcement officer. So at best, all you are armed witness to your principal being unalived as he's going into a business meeting or wherever he's going. Just think about that. And at best you could do as an armed driver, and most of just to be an armed driver, if they get that, is to call 911 and be a good witness of what you saw. Because again, most drivers are just going to be drivers without any training, any way to aggressively maneuver their car. acceleration, braking, steering, geographical direction to the hospitals and the places of importance on the security detail that every agent should know. But more importantly, if you don't have any life-saving skills, any AED, defibrillator, first aid, but the gunshots, first aid is going to do nothing for you but a stop the bleed course where you have tourniquets, chest seals, gauze, blood clotting things. If you have none of that and you have not the experience to patch your principal up, basically you're a witness to a homicide and you're a witness to that person dying in your arms and in your face. So again, take this, if you're going to do this job, take it seriously, because right now in America and around the world, this is the absolute best time to be or get into the executive protection business. The absolute best time, because the stakes are high, people are running afraid. We've never had political assassination attempts or attacks on political figures like we've had over the last 12 months. Donald Trump they had 2 attempted assassinations on President Donald Trump. Here in Minnesota, 4 people shot. Speaker of the House of Minnesota, her husband, Congressman Mark Hortman, Speaker of the House of Minnesota, Melissa Hortman. Prior to about an hour or 30 minutes to an hour before that, Vance Boelter, dressed as a police officer, armed with a rifle and 5 firearms and a cache of ammunition, went to Senator John Hoffman's house, repeatedly banged on the door, saying police that he was doing a welfare check. They asked him to show us some identification, asking what's his name, before finally opening the door. When they opened the door, Vance Boelter began firing, hitting the senator, who just recently got out of jail, out of the hospital yesterday. And that happened in July, or early June. He just recently got out of the hospital. He shot the senator, shot the senator's wife. The elder daughter was there. The wife covered up the daughter, and that saved her life. Both of them survived. Later, Vance Boelter went to another house of 2 other Congress politicians, Minnesota politicians. He wasn't able to get there because I believe the police showed up around the same time. And actually, I believe in that incident, when the officers arrived, that they walked up to Boelter's car, which was a Ford Expedition outfitted with police lights. He had a uniform on, and they mistaked him as one of their colleagues. And then he, noticing that, thought he was caught, and he drove off. But he didn't stop there. The next place he went was to the Hortman's house, Melissa and Mark. And just as he was there knocking on the door and the door opened, 2 Brooklyn Park police officers showed up. And this is where the story gets wild, because they showed up, and as they showed up, Vance Boelter drew his firearm, shot Mark Hortman in the doorway, killed him, then rushed into the house and chased Melissa Hortman. Now, the story goes, is allegedly reported, that these officers waited over 1 hour before going into the house. 1 hour before going into the house. But it got really stranger than that, because he got away. And how he got away, I have no clue. I have no clue how he got away, because they said that he drove away in his Ford Explorer and they gave chase. So I'm just trying to figure out how the officers actually observed this. This is not, this is true. They saw him draw the firearm and shoot the congressman. And then they saw him running the house and they took 1 hour. But where did the chase come and who chased him? With the lookout. So the story is very vague on how that happened. But I'm trying to figure out, did he run out the back door while they were waiting at the front door and, circle around and get in the car and pull off? But nonetheless, have an active shooter or something that they observed, I feel like there was an act of cowardice or that their training wasn't up to par, that these officers didn't feel comfortable with going in there to pursue and subdue an assassin who just killed a sitting congressman. I don't understand how at the other residence that they mistake Vance Boelter for a police officer because he had no patches on his uniform. And as you guys know, Vance, when he showed up, I don't even understand why people the congressmen and the senators opened the door for him, because this is what he looked like when he showed up at the door. Let's see if I can find the footage. I put my trusty glasses back on again. This is what he looked like when he showed up at the door. Now let it be known that Vance Boelter was a devout evangelical priest or preacher or missionary or minister or something like that. So he preached in the church. And this is strange because in their vehicle, they found letters where he wrote to his children, Daddy went to war today. And he told about what he did. And also they found in that vehicle that Vance Boelter had a hit list of 46 politicians. 46 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 46 people that he had planned to execute. Not just in Minnesota, but across all the states. And he had a manifesto. He said that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz put him up to this, and that Tim Walz is shaking in his boots because he now knows what he's capable of. And that's him on the right with a silicone mask as he knocked on the door. But as you see that uniform, he has no patches on his uniform. None. So a man driven by whatever his motives are, but he was hell-bent on unaliving these politicians. And that's why I say that now is a great time for you all in the business. The reason why is because people are shaking in their boots. They're in LA just 2 weeks ago. There was American Idol executive, beautiful home in LA. They were away from home. When they came back, they were executed in their own home with their own firearm. That the killer, 22-year-old man, scaled the fence, went in through the house to an unlocked sliding door. While he was in there, they came home, and he executed them with their own firearm. There are so many incidents like this where corporate executives are being targeted, celebrities are being targeted, but politicians right now are the main target. 1, because of the economy. 2, because of people's political stance, be it Democrat, Republican. 3, because conspiracy theories and what appears to be outright cover-ups of government immorality and illegal activity that we, the taxpayers, are paying for, even down to our current president, Donald Trump, who's involved in the Epstein files, who's involved in the Epstein case and the Epstein cover-up with his attorney, his personal attorney, Todd Blanche, who he made to be the Deputy United States Attorney General. And I'm going to talk about that later on tonight at my 10 p.m. show, because there are going to be new developments in that, including a statement from Eric Holder, the former and the longest standing Deputy United States Attorney General, what he had to say about it. But how do you appoint a person who's your former attorney to Deputy United States Attorney General, and that person is the person who goes to interview the most critical witness in the Jeffrey Epstein case and the only witness and defendant charged in the case? The person who set up the travel arrangements for over 250 underage children, little girls, who would rather be playing with Barbie dolls and easy bake ovens, but yet they are at the behest of rich, powerful politicians and corporate executives worldwide as they're being flown to Epstein Island on the Lolita Express, Jeffrey Epstein's private jet, which Donald Trump denied to being on. But when you look on the evidence list that they did submit, that he was on that jet. And Bill Clinton, who went to Epstein Island 28 times. So when people look at this, they're looking at political corruption, and they feel justified in taking the lives of people who they feel morally corrupt. And when you feel the pressure of going to the grocery store and have to pay $10 for eggs, people are feeling that pressure. They're feeling the pressure of losing their homes and losing their jobs and losing their businesses. And at some point, it's the snapping point for people. And they're not holding back. They're not holding back in the comments on social media. They're not holding back on their protests. They're not holding back on stalking some of these people. They're not holding back on making threats to these people. And not only that, they're not holding back on fulfilling their promises. If they said that they were going to come and get somebody in the political arena, and do something to them, they're not holding back on that either. They're making good on their promises. And so right now, the world, the high-level people are in a frenzy, scrambling to hire security, trained, certified, qualified security people to protect them. And so if you are in the business or want to get into the business, right now is a great time to do that. I have 7 executive tech protection classes this fall, from October this year through September next year. The classes coming up are in DC in October, in Miami in December, in Vegas in February, and DC again in March, in New York, Toronto, and the final class for next year is in Dallas. Now, if you're interested in becoming an executive protection agent, I just say right now is the best time to get in it for multiple reasons. 1, because of what's going on in society, and 2, because if you book any class now with my training academy, the MVP School of Executive Protection, before August 5th, with the promo code MVP50, you get 50% off of the class. All law enforcement officers are always 50% off the class. So any class that you take, just as long as you book before August 5th, you will get 50% off of that class. And we are the fastest growing executive protection school in the world. And for good reason. I saw one advertisement, somebody said that they find job placement for 70% of the people who attend their class. And I just think that was preposterous and outrageous. It was 70% people being employed after attending your school. You should have a crazy review on your website, on Google, everybody should be singing your name praises. So 70% is really unrealistic. I wouldn't want to have 70%. Well, I guess I would want 70% of my people who graduate from my school to go, but that's unrealistic because everybody who takes a class doesn't make them qualified for this level of work or anything. Think about the amount of people. I think 87% of the people who go to college never get a job in the field that they got a degree in. Only 1% of the people who play sports from the time they are 5 years old till they go through college make it to the professional leagues. So when it comes to executive protection school, I can understand your passion for wanting to be an executive protection agent, but just because you go to school doesn't qualify you to be an agent. There are certain things that we are looking for. One is integrity, character, followed by skill, availability, coachability. Those are the things that we're looking for. If you don't have that, I don't care what school you go to. I don't care what they promise you. They can promise 100% job placement. But the caveat behind that is that they are lying about their job placement. A lot of those schools are military. They have the GI Bill, so people who come through the GI Bill. When you look at their curriculum, they teach you handcuffing, aspartame, pepper spray, all of this stuff that you'll never use as an executive protection agent. But what they're doing, they're giving you all of that stuff so they can stretch out the class and charge the government more money. Some of those classes are $18,000, $20,000. Some of them last for weeks on end. You don't need weeks on end. I think a good executive protection class, honestly, if I believe people had the money to actually to fork up for a 12-day class, a 2-week class at most, is all that you need. But in that 2 weeks, you wouldn't be learning something new every day. You would probably be repeating stuff as a reinforcement of things that you learn. Security advances, risk assessments, threat assessments, route planning, formation movements, attack on principle drills, driving class, and then a shooting class. Because again, 98% of the jobs in executive protection are unarmed. So if you're relying on a gun, you're dead already. Because the real people, the great ones, do it without a firearm. So again, the class should be at maximum 14 days. But I can teach you guys, and I do teach guys everything they need to know to be successful and have a long career with longevity in 4 days in person and 4 days online. So we have hybrid classes now because I wanted to set the tone where people come in when you're sitting in the class for 12 hours a day and you're just getting information thrown at you, and what they call it, death by PowerPoint. That's not a conducive learning environment for people. And there are a lot of interruptions. People need to take bathroom breaks, lunch breaks, mental health breaks, smoke breaks, all of that good stuff, right? And it delays the learning curve for people. So all our learning, our curriculum stuff, the same stuff that we would teach you in class, in a classroom setting, we now teach it online. And it eliminates the needs for all of the breaks, the bathroom breaks. It eliminates all of the questions and stories about your father being in the Secret Service and what happens if this happens and that happens. So we do it right on Zoom. I'm talking to you just like this. If you have questions, just like you can do right here where it says post a comment for you guys who are watching, you can get into the comments and say, Mr. Key, how about this? What happened to that? That way it doesn't stop the process. I can get to those questions later on. I can answer those questions with succinct and that will people understand it and it's not belaboring the point. That is a preferred learning environment. So when you show up on class on day one of the executive protection class, we just do a review of what you learned over those 4 weeks and 4 or 5 weeks learning online. And then we hit the ground running day one. We're already doing drills day one. And that's the good part of having a hybrid class and learning in that manner. Okay, Yukita, thank you for joining in. So this is a great time to get into the executive protection field to learn the game. If you guys have any questions, I'm going to post the link right here again because maybe you just came on. If you have any questions, you want to come on the screen. You have any comments, you want to come on the screen. You can ask the questions or comments right there. Just click the link. Once I see you pop up, I'll allow you to come in. If not, I'm going to give that a couple of minutes and then I'm going to log off. Wow, my voice is really cracking. So I can get on with the rest of the stuff for my day. But I just want to drop this every day, the GOAT TV, 10 a.m., 10 p.m. every day. New topics, new broad perspective to look at things, new lenses to talk about stuff, to explore stuff, and to understand the executive protection industry, the security guard industry, the security business as a whole, and law enforcement, because I talk about things with law enforcement, politics. I'm an investigative journalist now. As I approach that 24-month mark, I am looking to pass the baton to people like you, the new me, the new people who are going to carry this legacy on, carry the executive protection industry on, carry the security industry on for the next 20 or 30 years. And I'll be here as a coach, guide, and mentor. So I'm always here. If you're on YouTube, all of these channels, you can easily get in contact with me, DM me, email me, just jump in my Discord, WhatsApp me, whatever. I have plenty of ways for you guys to access me, have access to me, and get information that you need to be successful. And Bungie says, as he always do, ask a question if you have one. He has a hell of a story that he'll tell you. But if no questions, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being loyal subscribers, followers, friends, family members. If you're not following, make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn our notification button on, and stay tuned for my next video. But feel free to peruse my channel. Scroll some of those videos. It's some very, very helpful stuff if you're in the industry or you're interested in getting to the industry. Just some of the commentary and comments, some are from past students, some from active people who are actually working in the field already. And as Bungie Adams just said right here, I'm just star his comment. I'm gonna show it on the screen. That's what Bungie Adams said. I really appreciate him as a peer, pupil, a student, a colleague, a friend. And I really do consider Bungie a friend. As I said, a lot of people come in trying to be friends and they mess themselves up. But Bungie has shown himself as loyal, responsible, professional, dedicated, experienced. And over time, we have developed a friendship. We talk often, myself, him, Kalante, Candace, Jerry, Idris, Tony, GYC down in Atlanta. And I'm certain there's a lot of people who I haven't mentioned, because we have people all over this country who has attended the MVP School of Executive Protection, who is a silent army. But when a bat sign comes up, goes up in the air, or say the GOAT sign shows up in the sky, that these young men and women, they come from out of every crevice, rock, corner, wherever they are, they show up and they show out. And they've been a good attribute to my business and my brand. And I appreciate you all tremendously. So Bungie, it appears as usual, there are no questions. So I'm going to end this, and I will see you all at 10 a.m. I'm sorry, correction, 10 p.m. tonight. Thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being loyal. And I will see you at 10 p.m.